of office hours here in the lovely and one of my favorite places, city of Baton Rouge at Donaldson's Baton Rouge campus. I can't wait to share with you what we've got tonight, because as a real estate Q&A show and as a realtor Q&A show, this is going to be the episode for you. If you're catching at the beginning of the show, the word of the day is going to be service. And I'll explain what we're going to do about that here in a little bit. So for those of you that this may be your first time watching Office Hours, this is a real estate Q&A show. We do this for you, by you. I am a real estate agent. My guest tonight, I'm really excited to introduce, knows as much about the real estate industry as anyone. And the reason we do it live is because we can take your questions and your comments. So if at any point during the show you've got a question, there's a couple of ways you can ask. The easiest way is right in the feed. If you're watching on Facebook, post your question there. If you're watching on YouTube, you can also post your question in the feed. And then the third place is use the hashtag Office Hours on Twitter. We'll be monitoring that all night long. So the topic of tonight's show is why being a realtor is more than just about houses. And I can't think of anyone better to talk to about exactly that than my guest tonight, Mr. Norman, and allow him to say hello to you guys all on his own. So Norman, welcome to Office Hours, and thank you so much for being a part of the show, my friend. It's really good to see you.
Well, Chris, it's great to be with you this evening, and I want to thank you for the opportunity, because when you mentioned the word realtor, it just makes me happy, because realtors are such a great professional group, so passionate about what they do, and they're the best at what they do every day, and that's providing opportunities for all to be able to purchase, sell, and rent all types of property. So this is a treat for me, because the realtors are a big family.
Yeah, I agree. As a realtor member myself, I can tell you that I think that the brand is so strong, it's become interchangeable out there in the marketplace. It's a question that I get in class all the time is, realtor, and they say, I want to go to realtor school. We could be called Donaldson Realtor School as far as a lot of folks are concerned. So before we get into the industry topics and really talk about real estate as a whole, why don't you go ahead and talk briefly about the difference between a realtor and someone that has a real estate license?
Well, a realtor distinguishes itself from a real estate agent in general is that they adhere to a strict code of ethics, which sets them apart. It's a bar that is extremely high to achieve, and they have to adhere to this high bar in everything they do, representing clients and customers in the transaction, dealing not only with the public, but also with their colleagues that are realtors as well. So when you ask me the difference, it's the high code of ethics that they adhere to and stand for, which sets them apart. I always like to say this: real estate agents do what's expected. Realtors do what's expected and then some.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. In fact, for those of you that are regular watchers, I'm here in Baton Rouge, kind of a pit stop to make sure that I don't miss the show before I'm headed to Lafayette tonight to teach a realtor code of ethics class tomorrow. And so one of the things that I'm most proud of is when I put on that big blue R is that I'm not just following the law and I'm not just following the rules, but I also have this additional code of ethics, which sets me apart in the marketplace, I think, even more. One of the things I'm excited to talk to you about, Norman, is that real estate in general, both here in our home state of Louisiana and also nationwide, because we do have a nationwide viewership here, there's a lot of real estate topics in the news. You're hearing a lot of things, whether it was tax reform, whether it be fair housing, whether it be local bills here in Louisiana. So I kind of wanted to pick your brain about a few of those and talk a little bit about the industry as a whole And I think a great place for us to start is that we're celebrating the 50-year anniversary of the Fair Housing Act. And it's one of the most powerful pieces of legislation that we have in the United States. And there's no organization which champions that more than the Realtors. So, Norman, you want to share a little bit about the 50-year celebration and why Realtors are such an important resource and advocate for the Fair Housing Act, which plays such a key issue in our industry?
It is a key issue, and it's one of those exciting things that Realtors really are very, very proud to be a part of and stand by, and that's making sure everyone has the fair opportunity to purchase real estate no matter who you are or where you come from. And I think all Realtors, not only in the state of Louisiana, but around the country, are truly excited that this law passed 50 years ago has endured this long. And we hope it keeps going for many, many, many more years, because it's such a critical component of what Realtors stand for and what they believe in. And it's all about the consumers and making sure that anyone and everyone that wants to attain that goal of purchasing real estate can do so freely and do so in the United States of America and the state of Louisiana. And so we're truly excited this month. We are promoting fair housing this month through webinars. We're making a big deal of it at our state meetings next week. We're going to do a House and Senate resolution on the floor of the Senate and the floor of the House, recognizing the great act that was passed 50 years ago. We're going to be involved with the Attorney General, who regulates and enforces the fair housing laws. So we are truly excited to join the National Association of Realtors and partner with our local associations to ensure that the Fair Housing Act is brought to the forefront and everyone can see the importance and the good that this act has done over the many years and that it will continue to do in the future.
Absolutely. I think that when you have an organization that's as large as the Realtors, that, of course, we are, as Realtors, most interested in having access to housing for all. And I think that it's only appropriate, and it's also a testament to the organization that we're as behind that as anyone could possibly be. We are champions for everyone having access to affordable and appropriate housing. And I'm super proud of that. I'm actually curious, Norman, because for those of you that don't know, Norman is excellent at following legislation, the bills, the impact of both the consumer, the real estate professional. And there's one locally that for our Louisiana folks, and also I've seen similar bills nationally about this inclusionary zoning and the investors and the impact there. Can you talk to us a little bit about that bill in Louisiana? And we can share with the audience why the Realtors are so important with these types of things that sometimes may pass on the third page of the paper, so to speak, and we may not even realize what's going on.
That's correct. We're working hard this session to implement a statewide bill that would, in essence, provide more opportunities for affordable housing and multifamily units for all. As you know, inclusionary zoning in many cases is a detriment to developers to be able to build to those standards that inclusionary zoning lays out. So what we're trying to do is open it up, this bill, to any economic incentives that developers could use to develop these types of affordable housing units. And when we do that, guess who wins, Chris? The consumer that's looking to have that great place to live with decent, affordable rents. It also helps the developer who makes the project happen, and it helps the municipalities as well, because you create an environment synergies with new areas in downtown or in the urban areas where people have a great place to live and the rents are affordable. So this bill will, in essence, take away a mandate to use inclusionary zoning and allow for a lot of variations of economic incentives so that we can place people into rental properties they can afford that are great units for them to live in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for those of you out there, to kind of relate some of these things together, we've got a lot of things going on in the real estate industry in terms of change. One of those is Airbnb, VRBOs, your short-term housing alternatives, kind of the sharing economy. And then there's the age-old kind of rules and zoning restrictions that on investors and developers who want to take long-term capital. We're talking millions and millions of dollars and invest to build more units, and more units in the marketplace means that it'll be more affordable because you will be able to at least meet with demand. And so there's a lot of discussion about short-term rentals like Airbnb, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And I think that one of the most important things is that interested parties like us that are watching real estate, we want to see everything that has an opportunity to grow the industry and add accessibility is out there. And so while we're using these terms like zoning and inclusion and restrictions, I think it's really important that we understand the impact of what that means. Because, for instance, we want to reduce the restrictions for investors to bring their money in and build. We want them in, not out. And so I think it's an excellent initiative. And Norman, I love that we're behind that. And I sincerely hope that you guys out there as Realtor members and interested parties understand this is a big part of what your association does. Norman's on the front lines. The association is there discussing this with lawmakers to try to make our industry as strong and inclusionary as possible. Is that a kind of a fair assessment? That's how I see it, Norman.
Exactly. And I want to say our realtors, they are the leaders in the community, the only group that can bring those stakeholders you just mentioned together to make sure you have a balanced approach, that you have certainty in the market, and you will facilitate capital to be driven into those markets long term so that it can be sustained in exactly what you're talking about. Great housing opportunities at affordable prices, making our communities better. And our realtors, just to give you an example, what they've helped us with, many of them have made calls to their legislators to ask them to support this bill. They've done calls to action when they receive those in their email box or their text box, and it makes a difference. And legislators look at realtors as the leaders, the experts, not only in real estate, but in their communities back home and in areas that they can bring coalitions together to facilitate positive housing outcomes for all Louisiana citizens.
Yeah, and I think that you're seeing a lot of that nationwide. And I think what people need to understand is that realtors in the real estate industry, we are behind the consumer as much as anyone. And we are the ones that are trying to do the things even at the state level, at the federal level. For instance, some things that happened recently. I remember when we were going to have unnecessary real estate transfer taxes at the local level. Then at the national level, we were concerned about several things, not the least of which was the removal of the mortgage interest deduction and things of that nature. And I think it's really important that we understand as an industry, we're fighting for the consumers and ourselves, whether we all realize it or not, because it's critically important. You want to talk about just touch on those two, because those are two that I was paying really close attention to.
Well, look, we've talked before about this. Realtors do a fantastic job every day working with clients and customers, negotiating deals, making sure everyone's taken care of in the transaction. But what we want the public to know is realtors do much more than that. And in the political arena, they have stepped to the forefront and made a huge difference. In 2011 in Louisiana, realtors came to the forefront and ensured that buyers and sellers will no longer in Louisiana have to pay any real estate transfer taxes. Transfer taxes they're a killer in a real estate deal. Buyers and sellers cannot afford to pay those types of taxes when they're implemented, and therefore pricing them right out of the market. So Louisiana Realtors stepped to the forefront, worked with the state association and the legislators, and we placed that prohibition in the state constitution in 2011. Nationally, as you know, with the mortgage interest deduction, obviously the realtors played a huge role in ensuring that the mortgage interest deduction was not eliminated. And even though it was reduced a small amount, certainly it could have been reduced even more if it had not been for the realtors' efforts on that issue. And look, at the end of the day, that benefits the real estate consumer.
There's no question. And I think that's the things that we're doing behind the scenes, because I joke all the time. It's very important that we understand that while state legislators and those in Congress and making very important fiscal decisions and budgetary decisions, it's very easy for them to pass on things through all the various elements of real estate, and we don't realize you start stacking those on top of each other, that actually makes housing unaffordable. So while they're trying to sit here and tell you it's this element or it's that, we're the ones that are kind of in the middle going, wait a minute, Mr. and Mrs. Legislator, actually it's that stuff that we need to prevent, because it's unnecessarily inflating the cost of being able to be a homeowner, which for those that is their American dream, hey, isn't it our job to make sure that we get that through? So I agree with you, Norman, and I was proud and concerned and also proud about those things. On our tax returns this year at the federal level, look, you can still deduct mortgage interest. There was a time where that may not have been there. And so I'm going to give you guys a little bit secret. And Norman, this is something I say all the time. But when you hear politicians using terms like special interest groups and things of that nature, and then they start talking about deductions, they're almost always whittling it down over here to the real estate sector. So you guys, the lesson there is when you hear that kind of stuff, if you're watching the news, if it's the national news or the local news, you kind of need to perk up in your chair and go, wait a minute, what exactly is that person talking about? Because it might affect me, but more importantly, it might affect my client and the consumer, and that's who we care about most. We're the ones that are there fighting for them every step of the way. It's something I'm truly passionate about. And Norman, again, that we do together, right?
Absolutely. And, realtors are the voice of consumers, and to give you a couple more examples, the reason we still have available and affordable flood insurance today is because the efforts of realtors around the country that have insured, because consumers right now, as you know, if you're going to have a mortgage on that property, they're going to require you to carry flood insurance. And if there's no ability to obtain flood insurance, transactions shut down and the industry shuts down. We're trying to get a long-term extension now and certainty into that market. But until then, we're at least getting some kind of extension to keep the program in place. But realtors are at the forefront of that as well, because that would devastate the real estate transaction and ultimately keep consumers from purchasing property should we not have the program in place.
Yeah, I think it's really, really scary. It's something that a lot of people, there's misinformation out there. And look, being from the New Orleans area, we deal with flood insurance as much as anyone. And so I think it's worth watching. And as an organization, we're certainly, as realtors, we're right on top of that. Let's talk a little bit about giving back to the community and some of the efforts that we do, because I think that it's really easy to see, Norman, look, from my perspective, and when we're dealing in the field, you see a lot of for sale signs. You see a lot of pictures of homeowners with the keys to their new home that a realtor helped facilitate. It's awesome. Our business is one of the coolest. You see people working in the field. You see all of that. But what I don't think we see enough of is the actual service work that we do, giving back to the community. It's one of the core values of our company, and I know it's a core value of the realtors. Can you share a little bit, maybe especially for those consumers out there, about some of the initiatives that realtors do giving back, whether it's the blighted areas, Habitat, Boys and Girls Club, all those wonderful things?
Yes, and that's a trademark and a hallmark of what we're so proud with the realtor community is they're the face of the community. What they can do is that, as you say, they go on the weekends, during the week, give up their time, help clean up blighted areas, help make those areas look better, so that when people do come into the city, they see a vibrant area, a clean area, somewhere where they want to move. Obviously, they've worked with Habitat Homes and building homes for individuals that may not can do that for themselves, to help people get into that nice housing that Habitat for Humanity helps individuals in. They also support, as you said, the Boys and Girls Clubs. They've done that even last year and continue to do so this year, and really make an impactful difference on young people's lives so that they can help them grow in the future and be great citizens and grow to be great leaders in the future. They do dog and pet rescues, and help that and adoptions and help pets find families. Obviously, that's a huge problem, and it's something that realtors have helped fill the void in, and it's something certainly we have to continue to do. They're also active in their churches, in their schools. They want their schools to be the best they can be, because they know when the schools are great, that's an attraction from having people move in to an area and foster those relationships, and also nonprofits. So you know, as you said, you may see the for sale signs, you may see realtors talking to clients and customers, and you see them around town, maybe having lunch. But what you may not see is in some of their spare time, they are giving all their time back into the communities to make not only individuals better in that community, but to make the community better overall. One thing we're most proud about in the realtor community is the Realtor Relief Fund. As we know in Louisiana, we've had a lot of disasters, particularly the flooding and so forth. Not only do realtors contribute to the Realtor Relief Fund, where we can provide financial support to not only realtors, but others out there that may have been devastated, lost their homes, lost their cars. We can provide that. But realtors are out there helping them clean houses. They're out there helping them rebuild their homes, helping them get back in those homes. Or you know what they're doing? They're saying, come live with me. Realtors, come live with me for a week, 2 weeks, a month, until you can get back on your feet, and we'll help you do that. So we're most proud of the realtors' involvement in that Realtor Relief Fund, not only from the financial standpoint, but also from the physical standpoint of helping individuals recover after a disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that from both our perspective as professionals, but also those out there, it's really important that we remember there's so much more to the real estate industry than just collecting that check, so to speak. At the end of the day, how we get paid, it takes a whole lot more. And I don't think I've seen any industry more invested in communities as a whole than the real estate, which is why I'm so proud to still carry that Realtor Big Blue R. You know, one thing that concerns me, and when we're talking to our audience, Norman, is you know, how do media companies and all of these folks make their living? It's by sound bites, it's by headlines. And I think that one of the things that I would love to share with our audience, and Norman, one of the reasons that I built this platform and why I so much like sharing as kind of a project for me, is that I think realtors get caught up in sound bites, whether it be the Zillow thing this or MLS that, and because there's blogs out there trying to get attention, there's news outlets trying to get attention. And I think that if you pay attention to what's coming out of the actual association, they'll be able to kind of distill for you what maybe you should be concerned about and what you shouldn't be concerned about. And I think it's really important that you guys out there, that you pick your sources of where you get your information carefully. Because I know, for instance, if you're watching this live on Facebook or on YouTube, heck, anybody with a cell phone can have an opinion and go out there and start spreading rumors. I think it's really important that we pay attention to what's actually going on in our industry. And I think having a strong association and the information that comes out from the association, for instance, you mentioned flood insurance. You guys posted articles on your blog way ahead of time, way before anybody else was aware, so that both realtor professionals, but also even consumers could sort of understand what this means to them, because they see a headline that says flood insurance is totally canceled and they start freaking out, and that may just be a headline and they don't even know exactly what that means. So you guys out there that are real estate professionals, make sure you choose the source. I talk about that all the time. If you want to be successful, listen to others that are successful. If you want to be a high producing agent, listen to what other high producing agents do. So when you're dealing with the industry, Norman, nowadays more than ever, I think they should be paying attention to the sources of where they get their information. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, look, and that's Louisiana Realtors, one of our core culture beliefs, that we want to be that source of the right information at the right time. And we want to look out 1, 3, 5, 20 years down the road and try to figure out where we're going to be, so that we can bring that information back to the realtor member to make better decisions back in locally or in their business role. Because you're right. Everywhere you go today, you can hear a soundbite, you can hear someone talking about something, and it's totally inaccurate. And Louisiana Realtors prides itself on going out, trying to decipher through that and bring back the truth and the right information to prepare our realtor members, not only for tomorrow, but even down the road in the future. So you're critically correct. It's one of the things that we pride ourselves on in doing. And we have to continue to do that, because as you know, with technology and everything that's going on in media today, it's only going to get worse. So we always tell our realtor members, call us, Louisiana Realtors, if you have a question or concern, or you don't know if something is true. We're going to get down to the bottom of it if we don't know the answer right then, and get you the right facts so that you can move forward in a very positive manner.
Absolutely. So look, we're almost at the halfway point. So those of you that are just joining us, or maybe this is your first time catching office hours, my name is the Chris Donaldson. I'll explain in just a moment. And this is a Q&A show. This is a real estate show where we like to keep it real. In other words, we're going to tell you what's really going on. We're going to help you grow your business, and we're going to help you not become a statistic. And so what I want you guys to understand about office hours is that we do it live so that you can ask your questions. So I want to remind you that we're going to open up the Q&A portion here in a minute. And you've got a question for me. If you've got a question for Norman, make sure that you fire away. Put it in the comments on Facebook if you're watching there. Put it in the comments on YouTube if you're watching there. Or if you'd like, use the hashtag office hours on Twitter. So wherever your social media source of choice is, we are there, and I'll be looking for your questions, whether it's related to the topic at hand or not. I'm super interested to hear from you guys. And Norman, that's one of my favorite parts of the show, is that we have Q&A so that those that take their time, rather than watching Netflix or watching bad news on TV, we've got something here for them where they can get some good information and something that will help them going forward. This is one of my ways of trying to be of service to the real estate industry, to those realtors out there, because I'm passionate about it. I think it's a big deal. And I want to make sure that both on YouTube and Facebook and everywhere else, that they're getting their information from what I would hope is a reputable source, and we'll get rid of the other noise. So if you guys have not watched before, make sure you subscribe. All you got to do is go to christalks.com/office hours, stick your email address in there, and I'll make sure you never miss an episode. And you'll also have access to all of the past ones where we dive into things like the advantages of Realtor.com, that Zillow isn't your problem, how to set up appropriate websites, and on and on and on. This show is literally centered around you guys and your success. So, Norman, again, thank you for your time. We're so appreciative of you coming on. I think that realtor members out there, first of all, if you're a realtor, if you're watching this broadcast and you're a member of the Realtors, make sure that you put, I'm a realtor. Let us know in the comments. I want to see our realtors that are watching, because one of the things I want you guys to know is that there's a whole lot more when you become a member of the association than just, okay, now I can log into the MLS and now I have access to the board office. Norman, can we talk about a couple of things that members have access to? Maybe the tech helpline, RPR, and some other things that we have coming up that you guys, if you're realtors, maybe if you're new, that maybe you're not aware of. There's a lot going on and a lot of positive stuff going on. So, Norman, I can't think of somebody better. Let's share a little bit about that. I touched on a couple, but feel free to touch on those or any that I missed.
Yeah, well, we'll just start out with talking about the Realtor Property Resource, RPR, which we highly promote, and it's a service that National Association of Realtors has created. And it's really a database of millions and millions of properties. But those properties not only have information about the properties and photos, it has over 340 data sets built in on every piece of property, from community, demographics, tax info, mortgage records, photos, you name it. And I will tell you, if you go online, even on Facebook, and look at individuals that have really learned how RPR works, how to use it correctly, it is a huge benefit for realtors to use with their clients, not only to maybe do a CMA, or to provide them this critical information that they look for when they're looking to move into a community. I will even tell you, appraisers that are realtor members, a lot of them have even said that this RPR service is the most critical service they use and the best service they use to be able to provide the appraisal reports that they do on a consistent basis for their clients and customers. So RPR is one example that I encourage everyone to really dive into, learn how to use to your benefit. It will make your consumers better. It will make you better in the eyes of your consumer with that knowledge of information. You mentioned.
Hold on. I want to stop you right there real quick, because I want to make sure that everybody understands in our lingo how important that is. the next time you're sitting down at the table as a realtor and a consumer asks you or brings up or says, hey, here's my Zestimate, and they want to convince you on why their house is worth what Zillow told them, RPR and this type of information gives you that expert level of data to be able to display to the consumer why the Zestimate may be right or wrong or any other information. In other words, you have the power of information to be able to display your expertise. And I think that that kind of gets lost in the shuffle. In other words, you have stuff at your fingertips with RPR and these various resources that the consumer can't Google. And that's very powerful information. So, Norman, I just want to make sure that from my perspective.
Well, and I'll tell you, over almost 654 MLSs subscribe to RPR, and I will tell you, the overwhelming majority of state and local associations subscribe to RPR, which then it automatically becomes a member benefit. So the members, through their dues dollars, will receive RPR once the association signs up. So it's a plethora of tools at your fingertips, as you said, that realtors can use to help their clients and customers navigate through this process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The power of data. So let's move on to another one that I mentioned. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, this is fun, man. I love it. I love it. This is great. The tech hotline was instituted this year by the wisdom of our board of directors who approved that. And what this is any Louisiana Realtor member can call an 800 number and a live operator will answer and walk them through pretty much any problem they have with their apps, phones, computers, any viruses they have, can't make their printer work on the fly. You name a computer problem, they can fix it for them. And they will even, if the realtor member allows them, they'll log into your computer while you're there and fix any problem while you're sitting there watching them. It's an invaluable service that I think if you could get something fixed, it could save a deal. It could get that information to the client in a faster manner than having to wait 3 or 4 days or maybe a week for a computer company to get back in touch with you to fix your problem. I will tell you the feedback we've received from individual realtors that have used it have been phenomenal. So I'm going to briefly just give that number out and encourage all realtors, if they have a computer problem, or have you ever gone into a phone store, Chris, and say, I wonder what kind of phone I should buy or service based on what my laptop or what apps or programs I use? This service will even help you, give you advice on that. The only thing they won't do is if your computer is broken in some kind of physical way, they're not going to repair it. But everything else is on the table, so it's invaluable. And that number is 877-573-5604. And they'll answer, good morning, good afternoon, Louisiana Realtors Technology Hotline. How can we help you?
I think that's amazing. And I'm going to tell you right now, Norman, nobody's more excited about that than my man that is in the media booth publishing us across the web, which is our tech hotline, and the genius behind it, Jordan, because he knows how incredibly difficult that is. And listen, if you've ever called Jordan, he's got all the patience in the world. And it's very difficult because with all of this great stuff that's going on, there's also a million things to know. Look, I'm sitting here and I've got a MacBook, but then I have a Droid phone and I'm all over the place. Like, I get it. Stuff happens. And I think that if you have a number or a link that you can call where somebody will do that, I think it's incredibly valuable so that, for instance, if something's not working right before you're going to go sit in front of a client, that everything's in working order. I love that. And I think that we can appreciate that because with Norman, we're on the cutting edge. Our courses, the more cool they get, which means the more HD and the audio and the streaming. I mean, guys, we have on demand. You can sling us over to your Alexa and listen to our courses. Well, with that comes technical problems, right? With cool can come problems. So as a realtor, that you have that tech hotline, I think is really important. And I'm really glad you brought that up. So the tech hotline, RPR. And I'd also like to talk about Career Development Week, because as somebody that's heart and soul lives in training and understanding that knowledge is truly what's going to lead to success. Can we talk a little bit about that and what you guys?
Oh, it's another favorite topic of mine. As you know, knowledge is power. And power will make you succeed, not only with yourself, but with the clients you're serving. You will help them succeed. This August in Biloxi, Louisiana Realtors will be putting on a boot camp designation week. We will have 2 tracks of education, designation courses for residential practitioners and designation and high-level courses for commercial practitioners. We'll even have a course this year on how teams can work better together and all that goes into making that process work. This is a great week. It's our second year to do it, but I guarantee you, if you'll spend the time to come over for 2 days or the whole week, when you leave Biloxi, you'll be empowered to not only help yourself in the industry and your business, but I guarantee you, your clients and customers are going to be the real beneficiaries of your knowledge with all the subject matter you'll get to learn about at this boot camp in Biloxi. It's a great event. Last year we were in Lake Charles, and we're even thinking about partnering this year with the Mississippi Association of Realtors to create some synergies there. And it's just a wonderful event. If you're looking to create a better knowledge base for yourself and make yourself as an individual realtor better, a can't miss event for you. You don't want to miss this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And having attended the one in Lake Charles last year myself, I think it was incredibly valuable. Listen, Norman, people get it confused a little bit. And they get it confused a little bit. They say, oh, well, you're in the education industry, so of course you're always going to say that education is important. I go, no. You guys have it exactly backwards. And that is that the education, the professional development, the things that I do, the books that I read, the courses that I take, the investments in myself that people don't see pay dividends going forward, which is why I'm still here, as people trying to do what I do have come and gone. And I think for realtors and professionals, you guys out there, I think that we need to understand that when you say knowledge is power, it's a cliche for a reason, but it's also important to understand that I am really passionate about going above the minimum. 12 hours of continuing ed in Louisiana or these other states. Look, it is important. It's a core part of the business that I run, but it's these other courses, these things that I've taken over the course of almost 20 years that have truly put our company and me and the others I see sitting in those rooms ahead of both their competition, but also ahead of the marketplace. So I think, hey, tossing it out at resorts like Biloxi, you don't have to really pull a lot of people's arm to say, hey, come to the Beau Rivage. But on top of that, the idea that they can get an education that's going to further their industry. And there are rumors that the Chris Donaldson may be one of the presenters there for a course that hasn't been confirmed yet. So if you want to see me there, why don't you make sure that Norman and Amy and those that are hiring the presenters know that you want me to teach maybe digital or modern marketing, and I would love to be there. So make sure you let them know if you'll come, if I'm there. So Norman, I'm hoping I can be a part of it, but I'll be there either way.
We'd love to have you either way. Absolutely. We would love you to teach or be there as well.
So when it comes to Career Development Week, you're talking about RPR, you're talking about the tech hotline, all of these various things. And something else that I want to talk to you guys about is that I preach from the high heavens about the fact that you've got a website resource at the national level, Office Depot discounts when I'm printing flyers and business cards. I mean, because of how many real estate agents there are out there and how many realtors there are, we are able to have these discounts. FedEx is another one. No. I use all of those. And I think it's really important that you get as much out of your membership as possible because these resources are there for you. And we need to make sure that we're aware of them. One thing for our Louisiana realtors that I want to talk about is that you guys have the Legislative Week, Realtor Day, and all of that coming up next week, which I am fortunate and honored to be a sponsor. I'll have a table there, so I'll be there. Let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, realtors, we're going to be storming the Capitol here in Louisiana in one day, all wearing realtor lapels, that blue logo. So if you guys are not aware of it, Norman, tell them a little bit about why, if they're not registered yet, why they should be there for Realtor Day next week, because it's one of my favorite days of the year.
It's for us too. It's an exciting time for Louisiana Realtors and all the Realtor members. We give all Realtors the opportunity to converge in Baton Rouge, which will occur this Tuesday, April the 24th, to come into Baton Rouge and really advocate, as we talked earlier, on behalf of real estate consumers. We're going to have over 600, at least 600 as we speak today, registered, which is phenomenal to be able to come to the Capitol. We encourage more to sign up at larealtors.org and come to Baton Rouge, be a part of it, because we're going to get to talk about such things as why the inclusionary zoning bill is so important to pass, why it's important to pass a first-time homebuyer rebate program to allow first-time homebuyers to put money into an account and draw that money out and pay down payment and closing costs and submit that to the state to be reimbursed for those costs. So it's important that realtors come to Baton Rouge to do that, to network with other realtors and hear from their elected officials on other issues that are critical to their communities and their business as well. But it's a great day. It's an opportunity for realtors to make their voices heard. And legislators, I'll tell you this, they listen and they look forward to realtors converging on the Capitol. And there's no other group in the state of Louisiana during any legislative session that will bring nearly the number of individual members to the Capitol than the Realtors.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's quite a display and quite a show when you see how many interested members that are there. You know, really, when you say we're there on behalf of real estate as a whole, both for our industry, but by proxy, the consumer. And so we are there watching these things like transfer taxes. We're watching these things like zoning bills, because sometimes the bill-making process, you could slide something in the middle of an unrelated bill that could dramatically affect real estate. And I think that show of interest, that show of professionalism. So you guys out there, if you're realtors and you have not been to Realtor Day, it may be something you want to carve out either this year or in the future. But it's next week, next Tuesday. And if you're going to be there, I highly encourage you to come visit us at our booth at Donaldson. Come say hello. I would love to see you and just give you a hug, give you a high five, talk to you for a minute. Let me know you saw us here at office hours. It would bring joy to me, man. That's why I'm there, to support you, to support realtors, because I'm in this just like everybody else. So I think it's one of the most important days, and hopefully you guys are out there. Not to mention that there's going to be a lot of education and informational resources for realtors surrounding the legislature and the visit to the Capitol that are extremely valuable as well, right?
Absolutely. You're going to get a lot of education. If you come into town, you're going to get to network and meet some of your colleagues that do the same thing that you do back in your communities, and you can learn obviously from talking to your colleagues about some things they did great, some things they wish they hadn't done. And I think it's all a learning experience. We bring everyone together, opportunity to advocate, but also talk to your family members, the realtor members from around the state, to learn from each other. It's a great event, Chris. And I guarantee you, if you register at larealtors.org and you come one time, you're going to come every year after that, because it's such a fabulous event and result-oriented.
100%. And I think that one of the things that I found over experience from my time, and I think that I told Norman this one early on when we first met, when I was just a whippersnapper getting started this crazy industry, is that, you know, I thought his job was the coolest at the time. And I always saw the value in the word lobby, but really the word information to the lawmakers about, look, I know that you're about to sign this bill. Let's explain to you what the impact will be. What I have been pleasantly surprised by with our lawmakers at the local level, the state level, and the federal level is their willingness and openness to listen. And many times when they understand the impact of what that signature or what that bill would actually mean, a vote yes or no to their consumer, to their constituents, to all interested parties, I think there's such a value. And on Tuesday, there's going to be tons of realtors there talking to their local legislators in those blue shirts right there, right? Right
here. Look, everyone that comes to Realtor Day is going to look fantastic with their Louisiana Realtor dry fit shirt. And look, isn't it great?
I think it's great, and props to Amy for upgrading from cotton to dry fit, so that us that are hot blooded like me, we can stay cool when we're in our realtor shirt. Normally I like to wear Donaldson gear, but on that day, I'll be sure to wear my realtor gear to support the cause, because we're supporting the industry, which I love. It has been good to so many families and so many folks. And plus, for me, I think that Fair Housing Proclamation, the 50-year anniversary, is going to be a really neat thing to see on the floor of the legislature and everything that comes with it. So I love it, and I can't wait to be there.
Oh, well, look, we can't wait to see you and have you in town. But look, we encourage all the 600 realtors to get ready, because it's going to be a great event. It'll be worth your while. But we encourage ones that haven't maybe heard about it until tonight. Go to the website, larealtors.org, or register. Register tomorrow. We want to have you here. You do make a difference, and that's what we need to convey. It's easy to say in politics, well, I'll let the next person handle it. I'll let this one handle it, or my vote isn't going to matter today. Everybody's vote matters. And I can go back, and not for today's conversation, but there's been elections all across this world that one vote did make a difference, or one individual getting involved made a legislator understand the issue more, for them to change their mind, for the outcome to be different and be more positive for the industry. So everyone needs to understand they're important. They mean as equal as anyone else, and their words mean the same, and we need their input, everybody's input. So it's an exciting day, and we want everybody to be here, enjoy it, and really provide some real results for their business, but for the consumers they represent.
Absolutely. No question. And look, I think that if you're a realtor, in addition to all that's going to come with that, you've got some great sponsors. In addition to the Donaldson family of training companies, which we're proud to be there, I think Zillow's going to be there, right? Realtor.com is going to be there.
Realtor.com, yes.
And several,
RPR.
Yeah, RPR. So if you want to go find out about these services, about these sites, if you want to find out the benefit to you as a realtor of RPR, you can ask the people in the know. If you want to find out from Realtor.com the resources that they have for you, the value to you is off the charts to have that FaceTime. I'm looking forward to picking their brain, so I know that lots of you guys are out there. So real quick, thank you, Karen and Amy, of course. Jordan, by the way, when you talked about the tech hotline, Jordan hopped in and said, that is amazing, because he is our tech hotline over at Donaldson. Nikki, David, Layla, Brian, all of you guys, thank you so much for joining us here as a part of the live broadcast. Literally, we do this show for you, the hopeful realtor, the current realtors, and those that want to get to the next level. So I've put it up on the screen. If you're not a part of the email list, I highly encourage you to go to thechrisdonaldson.com/office hours. Just put in your first name and email, and you will always be notified when I get to have amazing conversations with people like Norman to keep you as realtors and as real estate pros in the know, because I am aware that when you go on YouTube and you go on Facebook and you go to these places, there's a lot of noise. And I want to create a place here on Office Hours with dependable professionals, with dependable information. So if you're not a part of the email list, make sure that you join up. There's no hook. There's no catch here, guys. You're not going to get spam. You're going to get an email before episodes and a recap after an episode like this. All these resources that Norman mentioned, all of these various things, we will have links and timestamps so that you could go and check it out. So Norman, by the way, if you're not on the Office Hours email list, Amy, we need to get him taken care of over there so that he'll know when we bring these folks on, because we've got a lot of amazing shows planned for you going forward. So Norman, your first time on Office Hours, how'd you think it went? I mean, pretty fun, isn't it?
I love it. It was fast paced, great. I couldn't have enjoyed it more. I mean, you're the man.
I paid him to say that. So listen, real quick, just so that you guys know, you heard about all those things that we mentioned. Well, if you don't know Norman, he's the CEO of the Louisiana Realtors. He has all of this on his plate, and yet he has carved the time out of his schedule to be able to be on the show and to share this information and whatever information we got to talking about with you. So, Norman, on behalf of what we affectionately refer to as the Office Hours Army, so our community, I want to thank you and express gratitude for offering your time to the show, but to the industry as well. I can't think of a better person. I always enjoy gathering information from you. I think you have pure intentions. I think that you spread the message of the industry extraordinarily well. So thank you for the time here, but also thank you for the years and years and the years hopefully to come of what you do, because the real estate industry needs people like you that care. And so everybody out there, make sure that you know, whether you're watching this live or on the replay, that you appreciate Norman and him giving your time, because certainly he doesn't have to do this. And so, Norman, I want to thank you and make sure that everybody out there thanks you as well.
Well, you're too kind, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I hope over time we can continue to come on when there's some other key issues involved, because, you know, the Realtor organization wants to look out in the future. And we want to be able to look and bring back solid information to make our members better. And I'll end with this, and many of your members may not know what we're doing in this realm, but the industry is changing day by day, whether that's business consolidations or MLS consolidations or technologies driving this part of the industry and making it different. Well, a bunch of brokers across the state, very diverse, ask us to facilitate a statewide working group to look at the MLS structure in Louisiana to see if there's a way we could bring information back to the local level so that they can make better decisions on creating better efficiencies for their brokers, agents, but for the consumers that depend on that information to buy, sell all types of property. So we're really excited to play a role in facilitating that dialogue and information with all the stakeholders, whether they're local level MLSs or the brokers and also the agents. We've just engaged in a survey. We're truly excited to be the facilitator that can bring everyone together so that we can bring that best information and best practices back. Because look, it's happening all around us. Change is occurring. We can't continue to pretend like change is not going to happen, so we're just going to hide behind this tree and pretend nothing's happened, because it's all that will hurt our efforts in the future, and Realtor members will suffer. We've got to get out, find the right information, bring it back, and then encourage our Realtors, our locals, our state associations to go forward with the right information and utilize that to build the right systems, the right coalitions to be successful in the future.
Yeah, Norman, I think that's a great way to segue, because you could not be talking to a more perfect audience than us here at Office Hours. Because, guys, you hear, for instance, one of the things you'll hear is, oh, Zillow instant offers and artificial intelligence and bots, and we're going to be replaced by robots. And I'm telling you guys, that is not true unless you let them. And what I mean by that is, if you are an agent of change and staying ahead of the game, like the Realtor Association is, like we are here on Office Hours, and you are doing the things that your clients need, that you are removing friction from the transaction rather than adding resistance, and staying ahead of the game, using resources like RPR so that you can explain to your client what their home is actually worth, using valuable data that they may not have at their fingertips. Guys, that's what this is all about. So Norman could not have said that better. And I just want to remind you guys, if you're looking for a place where you can get that information, join us here on Office Hours. Make sure to check out the information coming from both Louisiana Realtors and your local association. Guys, we are here for you. We are riding this wave of change, and I'm not planning on going anywhere. So if you're with me, make sure you're part of Office Hours. And until then, I will see you guys next time. And be sure to sign up for the email list.